Here on YouTube, I talk a lot of Russian large state-owned corporations. Well, enough talking already. Time to do the walking. Literally. This week I decided to come knock on the doors of large Russian corporations and ask them for a favor. And this is exactly what happened. I would like to do an experiment today. I am visiting a large power generation oil and gas event held in Uzbekistan, and I would like to pay a visit to Russian large companies that I talk a lot about in my live streams. I want to see them face to face, get up close and personal to them, and I want to ask each company for a coffee. See what happens. Well, I came to Gazprom, and as you know, Gazprom on paper showed a lot of profit last year. And I came to these three wonderful girls and I asked for coffee. I said, look, your company made so much money last year, then could you please share a coffee with me? Because most companies, smaller ones, they have free coffee. And the girls told me, no such luck. We don't give coffee. There's no budget for that. So much for the record profit of Gazprom last year. This is the way, the real way things are at Gazprom. No coffee for anyone. This is another Russian company called Lukoil. It's very famous for its executives and heads falling out of the windows. There have been quite a few cases in the last 2 years. Always in motion. You know what? That's a fantastic slogan for the company. Always in motion. Okay. Lukoil. Always in motion. Check. Looks like this company has more budget for coffee. Let's ask them. No, it's okay. May I ask you for a coffee, please? May I ask you, can you please make me coffee? Do you have coffee?
Yes. Where should go? Over there.
Oh, wonderful. Ask for coffee. Da-da-da-da-da-dum. Can I please have a cappuccino? Yes, they're gonna do a cappuccino. Wonderful. Hello. Can I have a coffee, please? Nova Simonelli, Italian company. Very nice cups. You know what? This is a very good coffee. This is a cappuccino, Lukoil. It's actually not bad. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Thank you. But you know what? You guys, boys and girls, be very careful. Just for the future. Russian company called Rosatom. This is the general contractor of building nuclear power plants, building and operating. That's it. The whole 9 yards company. And I would like to pay them a visit and see if they have a coffee for me. Let's check it out. So I asked this wonderful lady right behind me for a coffee. And guess what? Rosatom. Mighty powerful juggernaut of Russia, building this incredibly powerful nuclear-fired power plants, does not provide coffee for the visitors of this very expensive exhibition. One more time, this company right there, Gazprom, never ever come there for coffee. Okay, natural gas, definitely not for coffee. So far, Lukoil, excellent coffee. Gazprom and Rosatom, but they show great profits on paper. Now, I know just a place where I can get good coffee. Come to Germany. Das ist coffee. Will you please? Jawohl. Excellent. Что можно? This is so good. Das ist Deutschland. Das ist gut. We have flowers. They offered us fruits. They offered us nice flowers everywhere, and courtesy of the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action, Germany. This is good coffee. This is good.
Еще один, да?
Now, enough of that coffee business. Let's get some good stuff. Uzbek pilaf and tea. So, three Russian companies, Gazprom, Rosatom, and Lukoil, all three showed good, healthy, large profits in 2024. I suspect that some of it, most of it, was on paper. I've talked to all three companies in different videos and live streams on my channel, but this coffee situation got me thinking. In the next video, I will make a deep digging into the finances and about the general situation of these companies. Oh, I'm telling you, Gazprom and Rosatom should have poured me coffees. They had their chance, gone now. Howdy, friends. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian me. Welcome to Fridays. I hope you liked this little video I made for you. I did the walking this week. Now I give you crazy news updates straight out of the mad circus that Russia has become. But first things first, there is no such absurdity that could not be realized in Russia these days. Please remember that. And one thing before I start, please forgive me for sarcasm. It's very hard to navigate Russian news without sarcasm these days. Sarcasm is my way of coping with this crazy reality of the mad circus that unfortunately Russia is these days. Oops. So the news, I call them crazy news from Russia. Give to you every Friday, sometimes every weekend. The news of Russia that matter and that you will not find anywhere else in the mainstream media. Now, straight to the news. Friends, you know that I always start Friday news reports with good news. The good news set the mood for the rest of the report. I like good news. I like something positive about Russia. There's another good news from Russia. Check this out. This wonderful car was shown in Moscow for the public to see. No, it's not a product of Russian top design bureau called Bang Bang Education. We saw the Bang Bang Education in action designing the Moscow Mule and other beauties before. This isn't it. It is not domestically manufactured in Russia. This is a fine sports supercar made in the West. It was put on display in Moscow to remind Russians of what Russian manufacturer Lada will never become. The next piece of news is also positive. The good news. In St. Petersburg, a deputy of the Legislative Assembly of St. Petersburg, Pavel Krupnik, proposed that police officers patrolling city streets and other police units be given new generation vehicles. New generation. I like this. New generation. It sounds so high tech. It sounds sci-fi. It sounds sexy. New generation vehicles. Well, what are these new generation vehicles exactly? Electric scooters, of course. We're talking about electric scooters made in China or other means capable of successfully pursuing civilian means of individual mobility in urban crowds. Well, it was just really difficult to say that. Imagine efforts it took them to write that, okay? So anyway, I love the idea of putting Russian cops on electric scooters. I actually would pay Russian rubles for an opportunity to watch how the cops in St. Petersburg would be pursuing the bad guys, driving away in fast cars, German cars, BMWs and Mercedeses, and the cops would be on scooters. That'd be something. I'd pay pretty ruble for that, But you know what? I love the idea of putting Russian cops onto other means capable of successfully pursuing civilian means of individual mobility in urban crowds. I love that even more. What are those means? Well, donkeys, of course. They now have experience of using donkeys in the Russian army in the front lines. I've seen many videos of that. Now it's time to put donkeys to the good use patrolling St. Petersburg city streets. I'd actually pay Russian rubles to watch that too. Now, this initiative sounds crazy. It sounds so crazy that my first thought was, it is a fake. I mean, it just cannot be true. Think about it. This is fact checked. It is true. Here is the proof. Коммерсант. I picked this news in a reputable newspaper called Коммерсант. They also fact check. Yes, folks, that's what they are seriously doing in Russia. In Legislative Assembly of Russia's second largest city, St. Petersburg, proposing the police using electric scooters and donkeys to patrol city streets and pursue lawbreakers. Welcome to Russia, 2025. The next piece of news is about booze. Do you believe that Russians have actually started drinking less? I don't. I think it's impossible. Yet, there have been reports of declining sales of hard liquor, wine, and beer. Another news of the decline in sales came from the head of the Club of Alcohol Market Professionals, an industry organization. Decline. Vodka sales alone declined by 5% in St. Petersburg in 1 month. I remember the times when vodka sales were also declining. Those were the rich years. 15, 18, 20 years ago, Russian economy was growing like crazy, and Russians were drinking vodka less, switching to premium liquor. French cognac, Scotch whiskey, rum. Russian drinkers were earning more. They had more disposable income, therefore they were switching to more expensive, higher quality booze. I remember reading the same newspaper, Коммерсант, that I just showed you about the scooters, and They had a very good analytical reports on alcohol consumption every single year, and I remember that the peak was that Russians started switching to wine, drinking more wine rather than hard liquor. That's what the times were the richest. Okay, so they were switching from less expensive alcohol to more expensive, higher quality booze. Now, 20 years later, vodka sales are dropping again. But it doesn't mean that Russian people started drinking less. It just means that they earn less money now and they're pinching pennies. Well, pinching kopecks, rubles. They are switching to a cheaper alternative, moonshine. I've seen that happen before. It was happening in very tough years that led to the demise of the USSR. The late 80s. People were trading moonshine. They were distilling moonshine. Hey, my dad and my uncle distilled moonshine. They didn't drink themselves, but they used it as currency. Okay? They called it the liquid currency. So Russians simply have less money. They earn less. Everything is prices for everything are skyrocketing, and they having less and less disposable income. Therefore, they switch to cheaper alternative. So much of Russians drinking less. The next news is about Western businesses returning to Russia. There are rumors appear once in a while that one or another Western company comes back to plans to come back to Russia. Vladimir Putin has delivered a very promising encouraging message for the Western businesses that want to return to Russia after leaving in 2022. Check this out. Putin said apologies won't be enough to bring Western businesses back to Russia. Putin called for taking into account the interests of Russian businesses. If it's not profitable for Russian businesses to let the Western companies back in, it is necessary to find 1,000 reasons to refuse them, Putin said. Once in a while, in Russian media, they start discussing Western companies returning to Russia, bringing their products back. We hear, oh, Coca-Cola has plans of coming back soon. They're re-registering their trademark products. Or McDonald's is returning. Oh, Siemens is discussing the return to Russia and, to continue the sales of the equipment. I think that propaganda throws in that information to distract people's attention from something really important happening simultaneously. And Vladimir Putin unambiguously put a full stop to the Western companies returning to Russia. He said it very clearly. It is necessary to find 1,000 reasons to refuse them to come back. Check this out again. Right there. It is necessary to find 1,000 reasons to refuse the Western companies to come back. You see, the foreign companies and Russian state-planned militarized economy, where there's only one player and the decision maker and regulator, the state with Putin on top, these two systems cannot mix. The foreign companies are free to make decisions, free to come and go, free to set prices. They cannot be controlled by the Russian state. I mean, try to control Coca-Cola. Therefore, Putin doesn't need them. He only needs Russian companies because he has full control over them. Moreover, the Western companies are dangerous for Putin. They're free. Who knows how much they're gonna earn in profits? Who knows how much they're gonna spend for what purposes? How much, what kind of ideas the employees of these Western companies would get. The Western companies educate their employees. Who needs educated employees? Things like that. I think you understand what I'm talking about. Therefore, 1,000 reasons will be found to refuse the Western companies' re-entry to the Russian market. The Tsar has spoken. Two quick but important pieces of news. First piece is record mortality was recorded in Russia. According to regional registry offices, the local offices where they register people when they're born, when they die, when they get married. Now that's how they keep records. That's called a regional registry office, ZAGs. So according to the regional registry offices, in April 2025, the number of deaths in Russia was ranging from 15 to 40% more than in April of 2024, depending on the region. Of course, in some regions, mortality was lower. In some regions, it was higher. Russia's leading demographic scientist, Alexei Raksha, noted that this is the maximum mortality rate since COVID pandemic. I wonder why. I guess it's because Russian armed forces are doing so well in Ukraine. As many inside experts and people inside and outside Russia say. Yeah, that must be it. Or perhaps because Russian healthcare services are increasingly improving their quality, and perhaps there's plenty of doctors in the country, and the medicine is so cheap, high quality, and accessible, and there's plenty of it, That perhaps because everything is going according to the plan. Well, the hard fact is, in April 2025, there is the highest mortality in Russia, and it's growing. The second piece of this quick piece of news is Russia has dropped to a record low position in the Press Freedom Index, ranking 171st out of 180 countries. Check this out. This is the graph. Only these countries were lower than Russia. 172nd place, Nicaragua. 173rd place, Vietnam. 174th place, Turkmenistan. 175th place, Afghanistan. 176th place, Iran. 177th place, Syria. 178th place, China. 179th place, North Korea. And 180, the champion, Eritrea. This is the proud moment you're looking at when you are among friends, among North Korea, among Nicaragua, among Vietnam, of course, Syria, Iran. But hey, you know what? There's still a space for Russia to grow. 9 more countries are ahead of Russia. Wait, behind Russia. Well, it depends which side you're looking at that index, from the normal side or from the Russian side. Before moving to the next news, I would like to have a message delivered from the sponsor of Inside Russia YouTube channel. His name is Konstantin. The sponsor wants to reach you with a message of gratitude. The stage is yours, Constantine. Thank you, Constantine. Friends, it's me, Constantine. Thank you. Thank you so much for being such a great part of Inside Russia community. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, returning. Thank you for participating in the live stream chats. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for buying me coffees at buymecoffee.com. Thank you for PayPal and Patreon. Thank you for your prayers and love. You know, you are actually making this channel happen. Because without you, it'd be a very lonely place where I just sit in front of the camera and, come up with news and deliver them. You give it a human face. My YouTube channel is a community, first of all, and thanks to you. So thank you. Your support shows me that you value my work highly. Just know that it inspires me, gives me energy to move forward. Thank you. Constantine, I'm done. Okay, thank you, Constantine. I'm back. Friends, that was Constantine, the sponsor of this channel. I hope I haven't confused you that much, okay? I'm just trying to bring some kind of positivity or, sarcasm. The next piece of news comes from various commercial banks of Russia. If I were talking about the USA, I would say credit card companies. No, not credit card companies, because only commercial banks in Russia are allowed by law to issue credit cards. And the news is very simple and straightforward. Credit card delinquencies are growing at a record pace. This piece of news comes from Forbes, and it's based on economic data. Since the beginning of 2025, more than 200.35 million people have overdue credit card payments for more than 30 days. 2.35 million. And according to the industry forecasts, by the middle of the year, in July, this number will exceed 3.8 million, an absolute record in Russia's history. I wonder what happened. The economy seems to be developing. The sanctions don't affect anything and anyone. And there's bright and wonderful future ahead. The light at the end of the tunnel, right? I mean, we've heard that from Russian officials of different levels at least 1 million times in the last 3 years. Vladimir Putin himself said that many times on record, in speeches. Vladimir Putin can't lie. Can he? Moreover, we heard that Russian economy was circumventing the international sanctions and going strong, and was being a miracle, that the economists from all over the world were looking at. We heard that so many times from many Western media. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Economist, and from the international financial institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. And now, credit card delinquencies are growing at the record pace? Huh? Now, are they liars or completely impotent, unprofessional, uneducated idiots who work in those medias? What do you think? Please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your opinion on that. The next news is, I'm I am actually ashamed of this next piece of news. Relief with Stalin as the central figure was installed in the Moscow subway at one of the stations. Yeah, check this out. It's right here on the picture. It is called Gratitude People Showing to the Leader Commander. It has an image of Joseph Stalin right in the center. Now, this is a very, well, I can't really say it's a piece of art. It's relief. Yeah, let's call it the relief. This thing, ugly thing, is very old actually. It's a copy of the original one that was created at Taganskaya metro station in Moscow, right in the center of Moscow. It's very old, the station, and the relief was installed when Stalin was still alive. It was taken away when the cult of Stalin was cold and destroyed after Stalin's death. So they removed the relief. And now, what is it? 60 years later, they have put it back. Friends, I'm feeling very sad about this. It's really hard. It's not just a piece of news that I am delivering you and that's it. That's very emotional and it's very personal. Stalin, what he did to my country, we despised it and we despised him. Because when I was growing up and I was going to school in the mid-80s, my country started opening up, courtesy of Mikhail Gorbachev. He declared perestroika and glasnost. And the truth started appearing, and we started learning about the great terror that Stalin did. Millions of Russians were executed, innocent people, at Stalin's order. And the worst thing you could think of what happened in Russia was Stalin and his deeds. It was pure evil. He was considered pure evil. The darkest page in the history of my country. And now, Stalin is back with a big bang. Friends, this is, you gotta understand it. This is so bad, it's unthinkable. Even in the USSR, they knew how bad Stalin was. They removed that I want to say a swear word right now, okay? That piece of crap. They removed it back in 1966. They knew better in the USSR. And in Russia in 2025, they restore it. Now Stalin is back with a big bang. Well, take a look at another masterpiece that is put in a public display in one of the cities in Russia. How do you like that? This picture actually tells me a lot. It's a painting. They took a photo of a painting. Now, it shows me that the cult is back. The strongman of Russia, and he's on the picture right now, the one alive, he wants to become second Stalin. And bringing the cult of Stalin back to Russia is just the first stage. The second stage will be Stalin, the strongman, will be replaced by another strongman, Putin. They are lubricating the way so it'll be easy to roll into the cult again. I actually can't believe Russia is going that way. You know, um, it's a very sad feeling I have. It's a mix. It's a cocktail of sadness and anger and outrage and helplessness. Helplessness. That's probably one of the worst feelings. I'm sitting right now. I'm thinking, what can I do? I've been doing so much. I've been trying real hard. And this is it. You know, this appears. Why? Promise, not anyone, but myself, that I'll keep on going. It's just this feeling of helplessness. Okay. moving to the next piece of news. And by the way, Russia is right now is a mad generator of news. Crazy news, important news, political news, news from society. There will be more news like this, what I'm telling you right now. And if you want to keep up with other breaking news from Russia, become patron of Inside Russia. It's important because every single day I carefully select and post 9 news that I find important with my commentaries and analysis. For example, I've had about 60 news for this report today, and I had to pick and choose 13 news for this particular report. The rest were left out. But there's still, some of them are funny, some of them are sad, important, emotional, you know. So there's tons of news like that. So with my commentaries, I post every day. I post 9 news every day, 54 news every week to keep you informed on everything you wanted to know about Russia, to stay on top of things Russia, but you didn't know where to ask. Consider becoming Patreon and get access to all the news that matter and that you need to know. And by the way, you will not find those news in the mainstream media. The next piece of news is, actually I'm using Zara. You know, I think most of you know this company, Zara. Zara is a great company. The Western apparel maker and retailer. I think it's a Spanish company. It comes from Spain, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, Zara was big in Russia. Everyone loved Zara because it had quality clothing for cheap and fairly fashionable. Zara left Russia, obviously. And Zara is ready to return to Russia in 2029, in 4 years from now, said Natalia Kermetchieva, the vice president of the Union of Shopping Centers. So Zara plans on coming back in 2029, according to this woman, big shot woman. It's just Zara itself doesn't know of the plans to return to Russia. It is a complete surprise for Zara. But hey, that lady, the vice president of the Union of Shopping Centers, she knows better. She knows better for Zara. So they will return in 2029, even if they don't know about that. And Vladimir Putin doesn't really want Zara to return. He publicly called for finding 1,000 reasons. 1,000 reasons not to let Zara back in. Huh? What do you think? Nice, huh? Imagine what I go through. My head goes like this, boo, every day. Chaos has descended upon Russia. Putin says one thing and other officials say different things. I just think that Putin has a little more weight in the Russian state, and someone can knock on the door of that lady and say, what did you say? You know, early in the morning, knock, knock, open the door. And if you don't open, we'll open it for you. What did you say about Zara coming back? You know, did you know that our leader said different things? So anyway, I will keep my eyes open. The next piece of news comes from a Russian senator. You thought that in my report today, I will complete it without bringing the news from the Russian parliament? No, that's impossible. Them good senators, they are great newsmakers. The parliament demanded to ban divorces of the military men who have fought in Ukraine. I'll say it again. The parliament demanded to ban divorces of the military men who have fought in Ukraine. According to the Senator Milonov, such a measure would protect the wounded soldiers. The wounded soldiers, as if, as pardon me, as it'll be forbidden for their wives to file for divorces. Brilliant, just brilliant. What do you think of this initiative? Please let me know down below in the comments. Oh, this good Senator Milonov is a regular at the channel Inside Russia. Now, the next piece of news is sometimes the news comes by that I don't know how to categorize it, how to call it. I don't know which category it falls into. Now, call 1147 and receive 5.3 million rubles or $65,000 now. It is the price the devil pays for the souls of Russian men. This on the picture is a bus stop at a Russian city or town, and I don't even know which city or town that is. If I were asked to show one photograph that explains Russia in May 2025, this right here would be it. Is it scary? Is it sinister? Or is it good news? Is Putin running out of men? Like I said, it's really difficult to categorize for me. I think it's all of that in one bottle. I don't know. Please, you decide. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Is this scary, sinister, or good news? The next piece of news comes from Norilsk. May 9th, the V-Day parade. It's a little less, just a tiny bit less glamorous than in Moscow, that big V-Day parade, I must say. Just check this out. This is the main street of Norilsk, a large Russian city in the north, the home of Norilsk Nickel, one of the largest nickel production companies in the world, lots of money. And watch it again. Now, do you feel the greatness of Russia? I will do more reporting of the V-Day celebrations all over Russia in the upcoming days. Please stay tuned, and I have a lot to say about that. The next piece of news is also about Russia's greatness. I am often asked, how people of Russia live. Simple people. Not people in Moscow, not in St. Petersburg, just regular people in Russian cities and towns. This is one of the towns in Yakutia, Russia's north. I will not comment I'll let you watch because, well, a local resident is walking around filming and making comments. I think that no comments are needed here. I'm not gonna comment. Everything in this video is very self-explanatory. If you don't speak Russian, I think you understand perfectly well what he is saying. Again, this is a regular Russian town in Yakutsk, just another province. I apologize, this isn't Yakutsk. This is one of the towns in Yakutia, Yakutsk province. Perhaps it is Yakutsk, I'm not sure. He's speaking to one of his neighbors. Neighbor complains that everything is getting flooded and oh, you're seeing everything for yourself. Yakutia, Russia, 21st century, May 2025. Russian world, Russia's greatness, something that Russian state, Russian government is trying to spread onto the other countries. You've seen everything. All right, before I move to the last news, as usual, I would like to ask you a favor. Please let me know what you think of this news selection. Perhaps you liked some of the news better and some of the news you didn't like that much. Let me know. I really need to learn feedback from you. It helps me choosing more interesting news, and I do that every Friday, So let me move to the very last piece of news, actually a few news. And these news are of ice and fire. May 2nd was a very unusual day in Russia. A record snowfall, 15 centimeters or 6 inches accumulation. This is what happened in Moscow. May 2nd. Now, this doesn't really happen in Moscow often. It doesn't happen every year. May is usually a fairly warm month. But it does happen. The last time I remember snowfall in May was 2017, May 15th, a heavy snowfall. Well, it happened again. 2025. The biggest snowfall in like 15 years. They're saying in many more years, but I don't trust Russian weather forecast service. Lots of trees already have leaves on them, and obviously it's wet snow, and there's too much weight, and the trees, some of the trees break down and fall down. After this chill blast, an accident in Moscow province power system happened. Blackout. The power outage became one of the largest in the last 15 years. Power supply was only restored on May 4th completely. Thousands and thousands of people, tens of thousands, were affected for 2 days. Many thousands of Russian people spent in the dark and in the cold. And that's right next to Moscow. And you got to understand, Moscow has the best everything Russia has to offer. The most reliable water supply system, sewage, the best roads, the most comfortable, convenient roads, the most reliable power system, the grid. There were 237 power transmission lines broken down and more than 4,400 transformer substations de-energized, disconnected from the grid. You know, I worked in Moscow for 20 years. I worked in the energy business. I built power plants and high voltage substations, transformer substations. Back in 2005, there was a big blackout in Moscow, lasted for a few hours. And as a result, Moscow energy infrastructure was completely refreshed, renovated. My company built 2 large substations, GIS, gas insulated substations, 500 kV. That's huge. We used equipment, GIS switchgear manufactured in France by a company called Arriva. Back then it was Arriva, then it became Alstom, then it became GE. And I personally was involved in selling those projects and coordinating the German manufacturers coming in to Moscow and the customer. Back then, the blackout wasn't that bad. I actually don't remember anything like this blackout. Back in 2010, we had a very bad ice rain in Moscow. And ice rain is the worst you can get. Because so much ice, so much weight, ice freezes on all surfaces. And the power lines, they just break, okay? Portals, they fall down because metal cannot support the weight. I remember a terrible ice rain happened in Canada back in 98, and that did a lot of damage to Canadian power grid, right? So in 2010, we had it so bad in Moscow. A tree fell on my car. I had an old Audi, wasn't fun. Incredibly difficult conditions for any power grid. But you know what? 68 HV lines down and 560 transformer substations de-energized back then. Very bad, difficult condition, ice rain, compared to just a few inches, 6 inches of snow accumulated and melted the next day. Now, you see the difference? This event in early May was not catastrophic by any means. People didn't freeze to death. Yes, many tens of thousands of people were sitting without electricity and heat for 48 plus hours, but no one died, okay? This event is very significant to me. And I'll tell you why after I inform you that right now, the record wild forests fires are raging all over eastern Russia. Amur province is on fire, literally. Check this out. Now I want you to look very carefully at this video and the next one coming. There's one very odd thing about these 2 videos. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Probably the worst fire I have ever seen. Someone's obviously filming from their window. I think you get the idea. The emergency situation is declared in the province, and this isn't just Amur province, okay? There are many other regions of Russia where this same footage, the wild forest fires, wildfires, Transbaikal territory, Amur region, Yakutia, Khabarovsk. The fires are still raging right now as I speak. Now, did you notice anything odd, very odd in these videos? No firefighters. The locals are complaining. They're freaking out. Obviously, they're scared. They're trying to put out the fires. But it's not like this kind of fires don't ever happen in Russia. Every single year they do. It's just before they were services to fight and prevent fires. They were services overlooking forests, like, I don't know, the probably closest equivalent in the United States is park rangers. Well, Vladimir Putin dismissed this agency. They're fired. Do you know why they declare emergency situation in all provinces that are on fire right now? Again, Amur province, Khabarovsk province, Transbaikal territory, Yakutia, they're all declared emergency situations for one simple reason: to have access to specially allocated part of provincial budget, special bank account with money for emergencies only. You see, Russian budget works like this. Russian state works like this. There are budgets for everything, okay? And there are approved in December, or in November, really, for the following year. And the state, the officials, they only have limited money according to the budget. If an emergency happens, they really have no money to provide extra help or extra support. But there is a special emergency fund in every province. And if there's an emergency situation declared, then a governor or other officials can just take the money and use them quickly, to help put out fires, wildfires. Well, it's 2025, and all the money are gone. The war is like a vacuum cleaner. It's has sucked all the money in. There's nothing left. Where are the firefighters? They're in the front lines. Now, both cases, the wildfires and the blackout in Moscow, near Moscow in Moscow province, show me that Russian state is in desperation. There is no money and there's no people. Both blackouts and fires, they happen, like I said, but I've never seen response by the state like that. Never. It was never like that. I keep on repeating it. Two problems: lack of funds, because everything is thrown to support the war, to the military-industrial complex. Look at this picture right here. This is where the money goes to. 5,300,000 rubles, or $65,000. Call 1147 and receive the money now. That's what it says. That's where the money is. That's where the money for fighting wildfires, for restoring power grids. Right there. We start seeing the first results of the war, the tangible results, something you can smell, see, touch, something that can burn you, something that can freeze you, okay? I've been saying so many times in the last couple of years that ultimately it'll be Russian people who will be picking up the bill, the war bill. And this is it. This is right here. Russian people have started picking up, and this is very beginning only. This is still very light. These blackouts, they don't last long because it's not that big of an emergency. But even something small, they can't fix fast like they're supposed to, like they were able to in the past. There will be decades of that kind of emergencies, that kind of stuff happening. Problems in agriculture, in the power grids, with wildfires, with city infrastructure, things like that. There will be decades and millions of different problems. The rich people, the warmongers, the ones who are benefiting from the war, and the ones who are ruling Russia, they're not going to be suffering that much. They have lots of resources. They have generators, they have private servants, they have state employees working and serving them. But regular people, they will suffer. They will suffer a lot. Like I said, it's the regular people who will be picking up the bill for the war in Ukraine. That's the price they start paying. And they're going to be paying it for a long time. Their kids will be paying that price too. Again, we're just seeing the beginning. But it's already massive. It's just the beginning. I will see you soon. Carthago delenda est.